Next question is, we already are ready for this one. After observing churches for 43 years, Brother Gipp's question, what are the greatest struggles, hurdles, battles that local Bible-believing churches are now facing from outside the church? 20 minutes. Here we go.
One of the things that we have in our generation, 20th century, 21st century, is we really see some of the words of the Bible coming true. Now, they're not always the best words, like perilous times shall come, right? That great falling away, I do not believe it's a future thing. I told you, I think the contemporary movement is that great falling away. And I do believe that we are living in perilous times. I told you the other day, the rapture's been dated so many times that it's got God confused, okay? And but you have to admit, we are in the last days. You have to believe that we are closer to the Lord's return than ever before. And we are in perilous times. Now, guys, perilous times. Can I tell you what perilous times are not? Those stupid reality TV things where the guy's trying to run across something where a pendulum hits him and he falls into water and he hurts his little helmet. What are you doing? Give me a break, all right? No, you know what perilous times is? It's walking and finding out you're in a minefield and you blow a leg off. And again, we think that the Bible, if the Bible is anything, it is an inoculation, and it inoculates us from the bad things that we hear about it. If you guys know anything about flying, there's a condition called vertigo. Vertigo is where you kind of fly into fog and you literally don't know what end is up. You kind of like become a Democrat. And but that's it. It is. But here's the problem. All pilots know about vertigo. That does not mean that when they fly into the clouds, it doesn't affect them too. And one of our greatest dangers is that we know what's coming, but we somehow think having a King James Bible and believe in the right doctrine is going to prevent it from ever affecting us. Our oldest son went through the Marine Corps, with Marines, and he was... I'm a dad. I want to know how well he did when he was shooting the rifle, when he's shooting the weapon. Two reasons. One, because I want to be proud of him. Two, I want to know if I have to start treating him better. And I treat him really good now. I really do. And I said, do you have any problem? No, Pop. We went well, and he shot second best on the whole island. And so he said, I didn't have any problem. He said, this poor boot next to me, man, he really did. I said, what was he? Well, he wasn't familiar. Now, we're not big gun culture. I've never been a hunter. I'm not against it. I just, it's not something that I got to do. My dad was not a hunter. So we weren't a big gun culture, but we're all pro-gun. And so along the line, they got to shoot and things like that. But he said, this kid never had a gun. He didn't know what to do, couldn't get it down range. Of course, he's in Paris Island, South Carolina or North Carolina, whichever it is, where the raindrops, like 3 of them fill that cup. And he said, oh, Dad, he said, we're down there on the line. And he said, it's raining, it's coming down, it's beating us. And he said, this guy couldn't get anything down range. And he said, about that time, he got the attention of a DI who came over for some close personal fellowship. And so while this kid is trying to, carry on his little war, this guy is talking to him about his intellect, his parents' intellect, his family lineage, his low end of the gene pool that he comes from. And I said, well, what did he do, son? He said, he said, Daddy, he almost made a fatal mistake. He tried to get sympathy out of a DI. Now, guys, look, I am pro-Marines or I'm pro-military, but look, you don't try to get sympathy out of a Marine DI. You get sympathy out of a rattlesnake with a backache. You got a better chance. Hillary Clinton. No, let's go back to the rattlesnake. But, and I said, what did he do, son? He said, we looked this DI and he said, sir, but it's raining, sir. I said, oh, John, what happened? He said, oh, Pop. He said, that Marine DI, he put that Smokey the Bear hat, that brim, right on the bridge of this boot's nose right here. And he said, Boot, it don't rain on Marines, it rains around Marines. And suddenly right there for 5 feet, it was dry. Sir, yes, sir. But you know what we think? We think that when the judgment of God falls on Canada or the United States or our culture, because we have the King James Bible, it's going to fall around us and not on us. And we think because all these perilous times are coming that they won't be perilous to us. Guys, if you're alive, it's perilous to you. So here are some things that I see from outside the church. Now look, we're shooting outside the cave. There shouldn't be any rounds coming in, but still. One of the things that I've seen is that the world no longer is sympathetic to the Bible and Christianity. Very simply, the world used to be sympathetic. I refer to Western European culture because that is what you are. That's what we are, the United States. Everything that comes, can I tell you what the value of a culture is? You'll hear, whenever somebody says you have a proud heritage, that means you're worth nothing today. That means you have nothing to offer anybody. You know what the value of a culture is? How did other cultures benefit from it? And the Western European Christian culture that has spread, permeated a great deal of this world, Bible-oriented. I told you that Bible went up into Europe. Those tribes got rid of it. They saw a good thing. Nationalism arose. Christianity got entrenched. And you know something? It is that Western European culture that takes vaccines all the way around the world to third world pagan countries. Isn't it amazing that you have some Arab country or some Muslim country that is having a war and it's being overrun and no Muslim country comes to its rescue? It's not even in their culture. All right, you say why? Because it's in our culture, because it's from the Bible. And so our societies were always sympathetic to Christianity. You know what that meant? If you walked into a place, into a business, and it kind of, preachers a little bit corrupted this. They got, they took advantage of it. But if a guy found out you were a preacher, oh, Reverend, yeah, well, listen, Reverend, let me give you a little deal on this. I'm going to just do this for you because you're a man of the cloth. But now here's what happened. In the States, this one restaurant used to offer every pastor every Sunday his meal free. Well, you say, what was wrong with that? Nothing, except then he brought his whole family and started demanding they got it free too. And so the restaurant said, we aren't doing it anymore. But what I'm saying is that society as a whole used to give the nod to Christianity. In our Constitution, and I don't know what yours says, but our Constitution talks about the freedom to worship, the freedom of religion, that the government cannot write a law that affects the Constitution or the tenets of somebody's religion. But you have to understand something. That was Christianity. They were talking about, here's an Episcopalian, and here's a Presbyterian, and here's a Methodist, and here's a Baptist, and you can't tell either one of those guys what to do. It wasn't saying that Hindus have a right to come over there and stick a magic marker spot on their forehead and turn the United States into India. But that's how it's been interpreted so that they can destroy our culture. It didn't mean that you come over, blow our buildings up as a Muslim and have somebody say, well, you can't say anything bad about Islam. Oh, yes, I can. Like, I can't say anything good about it. I can't think of anything good about it. Make nice bombs. And so I believe this about your culture too. Probably in the past, it has been more sympathetic to the Bible and more sympathetic to Christianity. Even people who are not saved. There's a time when the heathen of our countries would have a little respect. There's a time, brother, there's been some times, and it happens a lot down south in our country, not as much as it used to, but some guy be cussing, just rah, 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 and it go, hey, somebody say, that's a preacher. Oh, I'm sorry, Reverend. And then he straightens up. But that has passed. All right, that has passed. I had I call them a mouth breather because they are. They just can't, flies buzz around their head, and it's like, I think on their forehead they have a tattoo that says "this space for rent." But this boneheaded Bible-believing Christian young man in a church down in the States, he said, "I hope the United States goes through another depression." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, when it went through depression before, the whole country just kind of got together and worked together, and they pulled as one, and they got united." And I said, "Whoa, kid. I said, that generation that did that went to church. Yeah, right. Those guys believed in working." I said, in the 20s in the United States, if a guy went to a bad church, they still got the 10 Commandments and were taught some morals of living and some character and some ethics, right? I said, "Hey, bud," I said, "in that generation, bad men would not cuss in front of a woman." In America today, you got women using worse language than the bad guys did in that day. In my generation, if you got in a fight with a guy, one of you won, one of you lost, and usually ended up friends. Today you get a fight with a guy, he ties you to a rope, by a rope to the back bumper of his car and drives 5 miles down the road and drags you to death. I mean, it has changed, okay? And so one of the things is that our societies are no longer sympathetic to the Bible, but we haven't seen that. And so you get preachers and they go, well, I'm a preacher, you ought to give me a deal. And they're going, we don't care if you're a preacher. We don't care if you're a Christian. And they would say, well, see, we're being more objective. Well, I'm sorry, guys. I think the Bible should get the nod over the Koran. I think a Christian should get a deal that a Muslim and a Hindu does not get. You say, why? Well, come on, man. If you have 300 million gods and all they can do is make you third world where you can't even eat a hamburger, don't leave yes, we don't eat that because it may be my grandmother. Well, I got news for you, bucko. Your grandma did come back as a cow. She did. In Ohio. And we already ate her. Go ahead and eat that cow, buddy. It might be my grandmother. If it's particularly tough, I know it's my grandmother. The second thing is that there is an absence of Bible knowledge and influence in our cultures. There was no Bible in my home. We were Roman Catholics. We had a missal. We had all that Catholic junk. We did not have a Bible in our home. I remember you say, how do you know? When I was 19 years old, I was going to blow my brains out, and I knew the only thing that would help me was a Bible. And I ransacked our house one night when my parents weren't there. I was looking for a Bible. No Bible. And yet I had an amazing knowledge of some scripture before I got saved. There was some scripture. There was about taking if a man takes a seed of mustard seed and casts it out there and has faith to send to this mountain, go cast it. See, where'd you get that from? I got some of that stuff from public school. We opened every school day in my hometown over the PA system with Bible reading and prayer. Amen. You aren't going to find that. You aren't going to find that now. And there was a general Bible knowledge. I was talking with somebody here the other day, you read some of the old writers from even the early 19th century, but the 18th century, and a secular writer. He'll say something, he'll say, well, boy, that was the shibboleth to that. And he's referring back there to Jephthah. And everybody had a knowledge of the Bible. Guys, one of the things about this book is it is so divine that a general knowledge of it, everybody profits from. A lost man who doesn't even believe there's a God, he gets some ethics and some character instilled in him. He gets a spiritual strength from that no other book can give, because no other book is spiritual. You hear this all the time, and your military probably does it to your guys. But post-traumatic stress syndrome. You know what they tell every American soldier, sailor, Marine, etc. when they come back from war now? And I talked to a guy, he says, I left Afghanistan. He said, they got us all in a room. Here's what they said to all of us. You are now mentally ill. You are now mentally ill. Oh, I'm now mentally ill. You killed somebody. I killed somebody. And I will wake up screaming from now on. Listen, we have a great military. You know what the problem? They have great abilities to kill. And that is the high point of a military. Well, what's it good for? Well, it's supposed to kill people. But here's the problem. In the old days, men who went into the military, World War II, hey, look, if you ever had to strangle a man to death and look at his eyes bulging as your hands closed around his throat, that would be in your mind forever. But if you had some Bible in you, you know what you'd say? That was necessary for world peace. But now there's no Bible strength. And so now these men do come back. You say they're mental cripples. Actually, they're spiritual cripples. Because now what used to support them inside is not there, because they're not getting it incidentally. They're not getting it through the public school. They're not getting just a general Bible knowledge and having the Bible instilled in them. A third one, there are more, the public in general, the lost world, is now more hostile toward God, the Bible, and Christianity. There is a general hostility. I know, maybe not in your country, but I can't help but thinking that it probably is. Because I told you, this is a world thing. This is not an American thing. This is not a Canadian thing. This is not even a Western European thing. This is a world thing. There is a hostility toward the Bible, God, and Christianity. Do you see it? And there is this thing, there was a movie. Now, I didn't see it. I saw a commercial for it. And it shows this little grandmother lady goes into this roadside diner. This is how the trailer is for it. And she orders something, and I don't know what some guy says to her, and all of a sudden she turns into some kind of a monster and goes over and rips his head off. And the name of the movie was Legion. Now you know who Legion was, right? A demon, right? But you know what it said Legion, because the first time God judged the world with a flood, the next time it's with angels. But here's the most important thing about that movie. Up to that one movie, that is the watershed movie of Hollywood. I don't know how successful it was or not. But look, up to that one, every evil movie, whether it was space invaders destroying America, whether it was, some serial killer, what did people do in the movie? Oh, God help us. Yeah. Oh, no, they're gonna destroy all life on earth. Oh man, we better pray. Because in every one of them, it may not have been the devil was the bad guy, but God was the place you turned, right? In that movie, God was the enemy. Nobody's praying to God in Legion in that movie because God's the guy sending the angels and he's ripping their heads off. God is the villain of that movie. That changes the entire thinking of a generation to where they see God as the enemy. And it has happened, all right? And so there is now a hostility towards the Bible. And some of you know what I think you ought to do? You won't do it. You know what you ought to do? You ought to go down to a park in your town, sit on a bench and read your Bible in public. You say, why? The world needs to see that. Well, I'm not trying to be self-righteous. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. But they need to see it. They really do. I'm telling you, I read my Bible on an airplane. I get asked the same question all the time. I hate the question. It makes me so angry. You know what it is? Oh, are you a preacher? Are you a minister? I hate that question. You know why? Because I have to say yes. You know what I wish I could say? No, I'm just a Christian. We all do this. But we don't all do it, do we? And you're going to have to do it. They have to get some influence of that book. And then there's this, and you've got to take this into consideration. And I mentioned it earlier. We are in the end times. You know what flood irrigation is? Flood irrigation, they do it out west, is they got a little embankment around a yard, and they just open a gate, and the water literally floods. They put 4 inches of water in that yard, and it just soaks there for a couple of days and soaks in. I used to think that is how Christianity came into a country. That's how it came into this continent over, your country, my country, and it just came in, and we are now a Christian nation. But I got to tell you something, I don't believe that anymore. I do not believe that. You know what? Do you guys do this? I see this in our football games in the States. The wave. Where it goes around, and everybody just goes, and you just see it. That's how Christianity comes in. You know what we're seeing? Look, the wave hit the East Coast, and we're watching the back of it as it goes off our West Coast. Could I ask you a question? Where are those 7 churches of Revelation? Where are the churches that the Apostle Paul wrote his epistles to? Why are they not here? You read about Adoniram Judson in Burma. Show me one of his churches. What happened to him? He came in, went out. We are in end times, and the over the horizon is getting very ominous. And I had somebody go, well, maybe we're going to be persecuted for God. We're just going to have to get excited about it. I'm not excited about it. Well, the early church was. You know what the early church did? You know the martyrs of the early church? You know what they were doing? They were surfing on the edge of the wave. When they were being persecuted, you know what they were watching? The gospel changed heathenism into Christianity. They were watching entire nations embrace Jesus Christ. Don't you think there'd be a little excitement to that? You know what we're watching? I say it this way, the earth is not your mother. You know who's your mother? Listen, if you're saved, God's your father. You know who your mother is? Canada. My mother is the United States of America. My mother taught me to clean myself up. America taught me some good things. You know what I'm watching? Now they turned my mother into a whore. And now I'm watching my mother die, and I don't have much pleasure in it. It's hard to get excited about watching your nation die. If we get persecuted, guys, we're doing it when there's just no morale. There's no motivation. You say, well, preacher, what do we do? I tell you, you know what you do? Keep on going. You just keep going. I used to say this. I thought at the end time, the guys who are still serving God were the ones that loved him the most and loved the Bible and did this and did that. You know who it's going to be? It's going to be the ones who said, I've seen the hypocrisy of my own Christianity. I don't understand why it is, but I just made the decision. I'm just going to stick with this. I'm just going to keep on going. And so, guys, it's not exciting to watch your nation die. It is not exciting. Well, if I was on the Titanic, they said even God couldn't sink it. Yeah, but if I was on the Titanic, I'd still be bailing. Yeah. All right? And so it's not exciting to see your country going down, but we've got to stick with it.